All right. Hello to everyone on this fine Wednesday night. Um, I'm Liz, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Marcus.
Howdy.
Um, thank you. I was waiting for that. And you are watching our Wednesday NXT installment of the Pinfall podcast.
With a beautiful new layout that will probably change every time until we get it perfect.
Yeah, it's gonna keep changing. Um, so a lot to talk about tonight. Probably one of the most exciting NXT matches that I think we've seen in a minute now.
Definitely the most exciting one we're talking about because this is the first NXT that we're talking about, besides TakeOver.
Wow, time really doesn't fly, I guess. Um, feels like we've been watching wrestling every night, so that's where my confusion is stemming from. Um, so I guess maybe we should just dive into it because there is quite a bit to lay out, especially after this, after all of Takeover happened and everyone's challenging everyone for belts and all that stuff is happening now. Um, so tonight started with Adam Cole coming out and showboating, essentially, with the rest of the active members of Undisputed Era. Bobby Fish and Roderick, right? Roderick Strong, I think.
Roddy Strong.
Roddy Strong. um, and I we were set up for a whole 2 hours of waiting for Adam's event with Dexter Lumis. And this really was like a nice way to wet the palate for that.
Mm-hmm.
We had Adam Cole come out, talking his talk, going on and on about how he's so special and whatever. And frankly, I believe him. I love Undisputed Era. But then out of nowhere, because poor Bobby Fish and Roddy got kidnapped, they suddenly see Dexter in the audience, and Roderick Strong is traumatized. Um, and there's something special about the way that that Dexter Lumis can just into like someone's soul, it seems.
Yeah, he's really got those crazy eyes down pat.
Um, and I think this worked out really well for them because Undisputed Era has been really cocky lately,
Mm-hmm.
almost always, I guess, not just lately. But they've been really cocky, and I think after 375 days now holding the title, I think um, we're starting to kind of see the screws come a little loose on Undisputed Era.
And there's a lot more to talk about with that once we get to the end.
Yes, because the story just kind of keeps building itself. Um, After Adam was talking and bragging, and his two cohorts were panicking because they kept seeing Dexter's terrifying little face in the crowd. They were backstage trying to calm Roderick down, and Keith Lee came out and seemed like he was trying to challenge them or Adam for his belt. So, don't know where that's gonna go. Keith already has a belt that he seems to be grasping onto.
What belt does Adam have right now? Is it the NXT champion or something?
Yeah, he's the NXT champion right now, or NXT Men's Champion,
I
I
think
guess.
they only differentiate it for women
Yeah.
because
Um,
right now Drew McIntyre has the WWE champion. Meanwhile, there's a women's champion.
yeah. Um, but right now Adam is the champion of NXT for men, for
Gotcha.
men's singles, I guess if you will.
Men's singles. Single men.
And Keith for single men, if only. Um, and Keith Lee is currently the North American champion. So I guess he's kind of going for like a Bailey where he wants two titles
Yeah,
to
pretty
sling around
much.
him.
He might
Um,
he might be afraid of losing it to Johnny Gargano.
I mean, and we can dive into this part now, because this is what happened right after, was the Mia Yim Keith Lee versus Johnny and Candice LeRae tag team. And honestly, Johnny might be a tiny little man, but he is way more powerful than I would have given him credit for, I think, from the get-go. Because picturing him next to Keith Lee, it looks like Keith Lee could hurl him down a city block and think nothing of it. But he really held his weight during this tag team match.
Until he started completely neglecting his wife.
Johnny's there for Johnny. Johnny's not there for Candice. Johnny's not there for Keith. He's not there for anyone. He's not there for the fans. He's there for Johnny Gargano. That's it.
Yeah. I feel so bad for how Candice just ended that fight with Keith Lee on top of her.
So basically the fight happened in that Johnny and Candice came out, and we realized how small they are in comparison to Keith and Mia Yim. And it was almost an evenly balanced fight for a little bit. It got out of control at first, where they were all fighting each other. And at one point, Candice did this thing, which I'm starting to really love about her, where she gets super frustrated and all like bunched up in her shoulders, and she just starts like punching. And I sort of feel like that all the time on the inside, so I kind of like seeing that happen in a ring. But it seemed like a decently paired fight up until a certain point where Keith was sort of just tossing Johnny around like a little rag doll. But then we got to see Johnny... What happened? Keith Lee threw Johnny Gargano into Candice at one point. Without meaning to, I guess. And not only did he knock his wife off the ropes, because she was hanging on, kind of trying to like fight Johnny a little bit, I think. But then he landed in a position where I don't even like... The physics of it still confuse me. But basically, I guess, Keith knocked Mia off. Johnny ended up in a position where he was able to jump on top of Keith. And Keith then landed entirely on Candice. And Johnny landed on her head. And Candice was there, like, cold.
It gets worse, though, because when Johnny goes to pin Keith, he just rolls her off the ring.
Johnny went to go pin Keith. Like, Keith picked her up, like, I've done something horrible today.
Yeah, like, he was actually trying to help.
He was like, I feel really bad. And at first I thought, like, oh, maybe Candice is kind of, like, fooling them. Maybe Candice is, like, pretending to be injured. So Keith Lee, being, like, a softie, is going to come down and be like, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God. And then she was going to be like, psych. And then Johnny was going to tackle him. But he picks her up, and then Johnny jumps on him, forcing Keith to basically heave Candice off the ring. So she falls on the ground. And, I mean, you know, congrats to Johnny for winning, but then, like, he's, like, there with, like, his, like, limp wife. Like, Weekend at Bernie's style.
Yeah, she just looks incredibly wasted.
I mean, even, like, because we don't know what they pretend to do and what they don't pretend to do, obviously, but even if that's pretend, Keith Lee's a big dude.
Yeah.
Candice LeRae is not a big person. That's just all of Keith Lee falling on top of her, and that sounds very painful.
I bet it was. She just went completely limp after that.
The ref was like, are you okay? And Johnny's like, I get to win now. Get out of my way.
We might see him and Candice break up before we see Sasha and Bayley break up.
I mean, I don't think that Sasha and Bayley are ever going to break up at this rate, but yeah. I don't know, because like I feel like Johnny kind of has a Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy thing going on with Candice, where like Candice is like, Johnny's smart. he'll figure this out. I don't feel bad about this. I mean, I also like to imagine Buddy Murphy as Candice LeRae. So, um,
Weird transformation, but all right.
it makes sense, I think, if you think about it. Um, so that was a fight, and I kind of got the result I think that I wanted to see out of it. I think when you pin someone as small as Johnny and Candice versus Keith Lee, who's massive, and Mia Yim, who isn't by any means massive, but she's not quite as like petite, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
When you have those two types of people against each other, I think it is kind of exciting to see the little person win.
Yeah, but also Johnny Gargano sucks.
He definitely does, and I think the writers definitely wanted him to win at some point, but I don't think that they wanted him to win for the title at TakeOver. I think that was when they were like, no, maybe not like that.
I feel like he's gonna lose the title he has, and then get the NXT title from. Oh, you know.
Does Johnny have a title?
No, Johnny doesn't have a title.
Oh, you mean Keith?
Yeah, Keith might lose his title now, and then challenge Adam Cole for it, and then win that. So he's basically just swapping out titles. But we can go more into. I want to talk more about that once we get to the end, when we talk about another certain someone who challenged Adam Cole.
Yeah, because there seems to be a bit of a waiting list now for Adam Cole's NXT men's title. So yeah. We then got to watch a clip of an interview from Damian Priest from after TakeOver. It was not from tonight. I didn't really like Priest going into TakeOver, but I think that interview was like, sounded like a good sport about it. Mm-hmm. You know, he seemed to be like, well, you know, my name still gets to live on, and like Finn put out a hard fight, so like that's cool, I guess. And I appreciate that. But then, and I didn't understand why we were watching that interview at first until we had our interview with Cameron Grimes, the one man that I think I hate probably the most without reason in WWE. And Damian Priest, as Cameron's going on and on about how he knows he's going to win, he's not scared of Finn, even though he just be Damian Priest and he's a terrifying 5'11" man, who's a fraction of the size of Cameron Grimes. He's talking about how he's not scared, and Damian Priest comes out of nowhere and like is acting all like cool and whatever, and then just elbow right to Cameron's like neck. Or I guess jaw, as we found out later. So Grimes is like just writhing in pain, and Priest is just like, yeah. And as much as I enjoyed Damian's interview at first, I was like, oh, he seems kind of like a good guy. And then out of nowhere, he just turns to the reporter and he's like, you're gorgeous, and walks away. And I was like,
he's pulling an Angel Garza.
He is, but it was like not nearly as smooth.
Yeah, but also with as authoritative voice as he has, like anything smooth.
Damian Priest could like straight up be like, organize my sock drawer, and I'd be like, okay, Damian Priest, I will do anything you want me to do.
Yeah.
I love you. Because I really like, he's kind of got like the height, he's got the musculature, he's attractive. But like not quite my type, I guess. I wasn't vibing with it, and then he spoke and I was like,
his hair looks so bad.
I don't like the hair, but man, that voice, it overpowers everything. The rose-colored glasses come on, I'm just like, oh.
But anyway, moving on from that.
So then we got the very, very strange fight with Indus Sher versus Mikey Spandex, I think you said it was.
Mike Delbury, yeah. And then I think it was Mike Mondo. I'm not sure, though. We didn't get a good look. We know it's Mikey and Mike, but we didn't get a good look at the last name of the other guy. I also forgot about this fight completely until just now.
Indus share.
You cut out there. Say that again.
Oh, rightfully so, because Indus share, from what I saw, because again, we haven't watched NXT for very long at all, but what I saw was they are kind of a new NXT tag team. They haven't been around that long, so I think this is NXT's way of being like, here they are, and they're terrifying. Like, they'll beat up these two random guys that we pulled out of the gym just a couple minutes ago. And it was disappointing for me, I guess, because their persona seemed kind of cool. Like, they were very, like, stoic and, like, massive.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited to watch it at first, especially when they came out last NXT, during the fight with Undisputed Era and Breezango and I think it's Imperium. I think that was the team.
Imperium, because that's who Breezango's fighting next week.
Yeah. So they came out for that, and that was cool.
I don't remember them
then
coming out for that at all.
It was right at the end. They, like, the match ended, and then they just came out and were like, basically, what's up?
Okay.
And this feels like the same thing that they were doing with Sheamus for a while, when Sheamus was kind of like getting back into like the swing and was about to be in the position of challenging Jeff Hardy, where they were like, here, Sheamus, here's some random guy that we dragged out of our training camp to fight you. And it'd be like a 5-second match. The guy dies like within a minute and it's all good. But like, if you're going to make a quick and easy match like that, at least connect with your finishing move.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why they didn't connect, because it looks like a very unsafe move. For those who didn't watch, one of the Indus Share was holding Mikey Delbury in his arms, basically like this, and the other Indus Share drops from the turnbuckle and basically comes down with his whole body onto the head of Mike Delbury. So I can see why they didn't do it. They didn't want his neck to be broken. But if you need to completely miss your signature move by a mile, or your finishing move, maybe you shouldn't be doing it. Maybe you gotta do something else.
Yeah, that's a really fair point, because no one wants to watch the Claymore kick where Drew McIntyre's foot ends up on some guy's shoulder, you know?
Right.
No one wants to see that. What they want to see is they want to see the last move, which is the move they'll remember the most. And that's how they're going to be like, oh, you're those guys that do that cool thing. And you're totally right. I don't really know how they could have even faked out that move without killing someone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, like you're saying, it just doesn't make sense.
If you have a wrestling move and there's no way to execute it without... If there's no way to make contact or no way to execute it without fully just not making contact at all, you shouldn't be doing it. You should be doing something else. If there's no safe way to do it without just completely missing it by a mile, do something else. Like...
That's like your finishing move being like mounting a gun over like someone's shoulder, basically, and shooting it, and then them like squeezing like a blood packet and like being like, oh no, you know, like something like that. Like that, it's stupid.
Yeah, it's like, it's the other side of the moves, like the buckle bomb and just completely unsafe moves. Whether you make contact or not, whether you hurt people like Nia Jax or completely miss like Indus Share, you shouldn't be doing those moves if they're just unsafe by nature.
And I think that's sort of a testament to like the whole climate of NXT, in the sense that it is a lot of new people, and it's sort of like their test kitchen, I guess, in a way.
Right.
And I do definitely prefer seeing guys who are trying moves that might be totally unsafe if it like works,
Mm-hmm.
and very purposefully missing connecting for the sake of not like breaking someone's neck versus Nia Jax close fist punching Becky Lynch and concussing her. You know, I'd much rather see someone do a horrible fake out than really injure someone.
Yeah.
So we have Dark Side of the Ring season 2. But it's just, I would have at least liked a longer match if I was going to be that disappointed by the finishing move.
Like, missing a punch or a bunch of punches by a mile is one thing, because it's hard to fake contact with a punch. Another thing we'll talk about later. But I mean, this is wrestling. There's always safe ways to do traditional wrestling moves, especially on a mat like that. But
especially when you're that big. They're big men.
Yeah, there's a whole slew of wrestling moves they can choose from. The world is their oyster. They can come up with any creative thing they want, but they need to do something that they can do without fully, like, just risking somebody's neck.
Yeah. And if they're as new as my research led me to believe, I think that they are... I mean, they've got time to figure it out. They've got time to think of something better. But, so after we got to watch Indus Sher defeat two men who... So when we were watching it, the names of the two guys that they were fighting went by so quickly that we didn't catch it. And we were trying to, like, go through whatever venue we could to figure out who they were fighting. And even on Twitter, all I saw was, like, Indus Sher is doing this thing, and Indus Sher is doing that thing. And I couldn't find the name of the people for the life of me. But that being said, so after this, we had a shocking announcement where Cameron Grimes, who also tweeted about this, I saw that as I was trying to figure out the names of these guys. He tweeted, "Damian Priest broke my jaw, and I'm not fighting Finn Balor tonight." So we got this shocking announcement, and, like, the interview lady, the blonde girl that they have on there, was talking to one of the referees, who was talking to Mr. Regal, who was so mad. And they ended up walking up on him while he's talking to it's Kaden Carter, I think. He was talking to Kaden Carter and some other girl. And Mr. Regal was like he was being Cameron Grimes was being such a jerk, and, like, he did not look injured. He was just, like, yakking. And Mr. Regal, like, finally isn't, like, announced to be, like, on video chat with them, and he's like, oh my face, oh, Mr. Regal, I can't fight tonight, oh no. And Mr. Regal was like, I don't see you warming up in the next 5 seconds, I swear to God. I will come from my little hovel that I have been video broadcasting from since Adam Cole challenged Velveteen Dream challenged Adam Cole to the title, and I will come out there and beat you myself. So Adam Cole, like a toddler, was told to get back to work. And then we had the interview with Breezango, which I normally would have skirted by this, I think, because they had a lot of promos tonight, and there's not enough time to kind of go through every single one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even get a chance to write this in my notes.
But I feel like after watching that promo, it really seemed like they're so flamboyant in a way, and so, like, out there. It felt, while I was watching, like, all their old clips and stuff, I was like, this, like, looks like classic WWE.
I'm excited. I've never seen them fight besides, was it last week when they just showed up?
Yes.
Yeah, I've never seen them fight before besides then, and I feel like WWE's been missing this kind of quirkiness. And just this completely out there persona that's not super serious or edgy like Bray Wyatt. Like, they've been missing this goofiness.
Wouldn't say Bray Wyatt's super serious, but
I when I say that, I mean more The Fiend.
Fair. It definitely, like, has, like, vintage WWE vibes to it. Very, like, Triple H and, like, Hulk Hogan, like, behind the scenes kind of stuff. And it kind of felt like they had a really Miz and Morrison kind of connection, it almost seemed like, which
Hmm.
it's so weird to me, by the way, that Miz and Morrison weren't really a thing up until like the beginning of this year, I think.
Around when we started watching.
Yeah. I feel like they've just been together forever, my heart. Um, but I am excited to kind of see them giving NXT, I guess, like a little more showmanship in a way.
Right.
Does that make sense? It
Yeah.
seems very like there's a lot of fights, and there's a lot of really good fights, but SmackDown has like Otis stealing Corbin's crown and like goofy stuff like that, and there doesn't seem to be nearly enough goofy stuff, especially between Karrion Kross trying to murder Tommaso Ciampa and Finn Balor being attacked by Damian Priest. It all seemed like so dark and edgy that I think Breezango is exactly what is needed to get them back into like a this isn't just a drama.
Yeah, they need some lightheartedness, some costumes. That's really been I don't know, when I think of NXT, I just think like people trying really hard, I guess. Because it is like a training ground for newer wrestlers. But seeing like a more lighthearted duo, it's brings a little freshness to the scene.
And then after the Breezango interview, because we had four promos, I think, in a row. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, we had Tommaso Ciampa looking devastated after his Karrion Kross uh, match. It was an interview from after Takeover. He looked like a little broken man, and that's upsetting because he scares me normally, and then I just see him not responding to reporters. So, um, and then we got the Rhea Ripley interview where my sweet, sweet boy Robert Stone tried to recruit her, and
Oh, he's so broken.
I I genuinely feel like Robert Stone right now is who I have been emotionally for the last few days. And I respect that representation on TV. However, the fact that he was like, you know what, I'm gonna go up to Rhea Ripley. I'm gonna ask her if she wants to be part of my team.
It's like going up to the popular girl in school and when you're a nerd and asking her out.
I really like for a second there, like at first I was like, oh, I know. And then it's almost like she was gonna say yes, and then she beat him up. And I was
she
like,
she
I love you both.
she specifically took him away from the interviewer back to
She
like
was
the
like, this is
equipment
indecent for
room.
television.
It was, yeah, that was perfect.
I I really enjoyed it, but I really wanted her to join him because, like, I know that I know their styles do not match at all. I know it would not have made sense. I am sure any seasoned NXT viewer would probably be like, "You're crazy. You're really out of your head." But at first, I was like, "Oh, that could be fun, like Dark and Light. Who knows? He's shady. She's kind of desperate, so."
I want to see
But
him. Speaking of desperation, I want to see him try and go after Charlotte Flair
he
because
was kind of like her pseudo manager for a minute.
she's been losing a lot lately, and she might be desperate for a manager to sort of help guide her.
And I mean, I don't necessarily think that his role would be guiding her per se, because I don't think Charlotte Flair would take guidance from anyone besides like her father. Um,
If even.
but that being said, I think the idea in my head of Robert Stone helping Charlotte get back to like where she was as the queen, um, and then also Robert Stone feeding off of that ego and that energy. The idea is thrilling to me.
Yeah.
Um, but so that happened, and then we got the fight that this has to be like one of my second favorite fights of tonight. Cameron Grimes versus Finn.
Hmm.
Finn Balor. I think I say his name wrong every other time I try to say it. Mostly because I'm not trying to say Fergal Devitt.
Let's just call him Fergal Devitt from now on. It's his real
Just
name.
doesn't sound like someone who's gonna beat me up. Like
It
Finn Balor sounds like
Fergal Devitt sounds like that redneck kid around the corner who will kick your ass, but for reasons that you don't want.
I just I don't know. I kind of feel bad making jokes about their names because like that's their actual name.
Yeah, that's fair. Now I feel
But
bad.
I know, and he seems like such a good guy in the ring and out of the ring.
I don't know what he's like out of the ring, so I can't say for sure.
I'm gonna pretend that he's a good guy out of the ring because I love him. Anyways, um, so Cameron Grimes, of course, is forced out into like fighting Finn, even though he's like, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. Also, oh, Damien hurt me. I can't go out tonight. I'm so sorry. Um, and he came out with a fire. He came out with like this. I'm gonna fight him. Everything's gonna be fine. I'm just kind of like joking that I got hurt that bad by Damian Priest. Uh, but immediately, Finn went after him, and Cameron was like, "Look!" and,
Yeah.
like ran out of the ring.
It seemed very one-sided up until a point, because
There were
there were a couple times when Cameron started fighting back.
there were a couple points like there weren't a lot of points where it was like they both seemed like they had 50-50 on the match. There were points where Cameron got Finn in positions where I was like, oh, maybe this is just going to be another addition to his story that like he beat Damien, but he still doesn't have his confidence or something like that. But then Finn started fighting like he had something special to lose. Oh my
Mm.
God. He landed a lot of his big moves. And he like I know we make fun of slapping a lot, but he slapped Cameron Grimes at one point, and I was like,
He slapped him a lot, and I would be against it because it seems just like a cheap move to get a loud sound. But this seemed like a form of intimidation. Like he was kind of chasing him around the ring from corner to corner, just slapping his chest like basically like what are you gonna do? You're not gonna touch me.
and if you didn't see Finn's last fight with Cameron, which was, I want to say 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, um, Finn was still trying to figure out who attacked him, which I had not been watching long enough to know what that really, like the context of all that. But basically, my understanding was he was attacked in the locker rooms, and he did not know who did it. He was on a mission to figure it out, and Cameron Grimes was one of the people that he really thought it was. So he fought him, and after being attacked and blindsided, his confidence was completely rattled. So he fought Cameron. Cameron won, and then after Cameron left the ring, I think this is how it went. Again, I'm trying to remember 4 weeks ago when I can't remember yesterday, but eventually, right after this fight happened, Damian Priest comes out, puts a folding chair on Finn's neck, and then says, "Joke's on you. I'm the one that attacked you. Meet me at NXT TakeOver, and we'll talk about it." So I saw this fight as kind of like Finn being like, I am back. I am here. You cannot scare me anymore. I beat the person who scared me in the first place. Cameron, you were just collateral that I lost against, and now I want to get that confidence back too. So I kind of knew he was going to win going into this, but there were a couple moments where I was like, I don't think he's going to win.
But then that fight gave him so much confidence that afterwards he was like, you know what? I'm gonna take on the biggest guy in NXT.
I mean, so there's only a couple people that I really care about the moves with. Finn's one of them. He got to do every major thing that he knows how to do. He kicked Cameron in the face while holding himself up on the ropes. He got his double foot stomp in. He got his coup de grace in. And that was successful. And, love seeing a successful finishing move. And then my dude is riding that high. my 5'11" man is riding that high. And there is music. Everyone is cheering him on after he wins. And he says, "Hey, Keith Lee, let's talk about your title." And I said, okay, all right. Shit.
My dude is gonna die. And, like, this comes to, like, a full circle with these challenges because you have Adam Cole with his NXT championship, you have Keith Lee wanting Adam Cole's championship, and now you have Finn Balor wanting Keith Lee's championship. And there's more to come. There's still more challenges that are later on that we'll get to.
So, sorry, I had to let the cat in because she was sneezing outside the door as if she couldn't open it. Yes, I know. So yeah, you got Finn challenging Keith challenging Adam, Tegan Knox and somebody are challenging whoever wins at Backlash for the women's tag team title. And of course, this is not it because, again, we keep teasing it. But this will come up again later. And it's sort of what I really like about the episode after the big pay-per-view event. This is exactly what happened after WrestleMania. We watched Raw. And then Drew McIntyre had to beat Big Show. And then I think Seth Rollins came out, if I'm not mistaken. And he had to defend his title against both of them. So, I love it, but also it's tiring for like a minute there.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't see that, I don't think. Did we watch that?
I know I saw it because I saw Drew McIntyre and we were both sitting there like, is he a heel or is he not a heel? We can't tell.
Right, yeah, okay.
And then it turned out he was my favorite wrestler that ever existed. But Finn Balor is not much bigger and not much wider than Johnny Gargano, so I don't know how it's gonna go for him versus Keith Lee, but after this last match with Keith Lee and Johnny, maybe he's got a fighting chance.
I mean, it all depends on how the other challenges go and who wins first, you know? Because if Keith beats Adam Cole, then he has 2 championships. If Finn beats Keith, does he get both? Does he get one? Does it work that he only gets the one he initially challenged for?
Right. It's like if you're selling like a house and a car and someone comes over and they outbid other people for your car, they don't get your house.
Right.
But I think in my head, and I don't know when this is going to happen, I don't know how this is going to happen, all I know is that the threats have been made for this to happen. In my head, I think what's going to probably end up happening is Keith Lee is going to defeat Cole for the title when he officially challenges him. Because he really didn't officially challenge him. He just said, when you're ready, I'm there. Which is almost exactly what Finn said, too, to Keith. He said, whenever you're ready, I will take that title from you. So I think Keith will get both titles, and I think Keith will be stripped of one title.
Which we will.
I don't... It'll probably go to Finn.
Yeah. But there's... there's more we gotta talk about.
We can go into the full analysis of what we think is going to happen once we get to the end.
This is a whole train of challenges that we haven't even gotten to the last station yet.
Again, this is why I love the match after a pay-per-view, because here we are. Everyone's challenging everyone. It's like a yard sale.
Mm-hmm.
So after this fight, which I, again, thought was super exciting, I felt myself yelling at things, which I love yelling at TV for sports. And not a ton of WWE matches can do that for me, but I was yelling. Then we got Casey. Can't Catanzaro
Yeah, Catanzaro.
versus Dakota Kai. Um, so Dakota Kai, when she had her whole story about why she joined Raquel Gonzalez, I was like, you know what? All right, I kind of want to see you win. Like, you felt slighted. That's awesome. Like, you're trying to reclaim your ground. Go for it, girl. And I really wanted to like them. I did not like a single second of this match.
Really? I really enjoyed a bit of it.
The like first punch was so cheap and like so fake. Like,
But you gotta admit, you were a little impressed by Casey, because that's where my enjoyment came from, was watching Casey, this 5 foot girl, just like, even though she lost, she put on a hell of a performance. Like,
so I guess my grievances are mostly with Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez.
mm-hmm.
But Casey Canzaro, um, first of all, light as a feather. We looked at her build, height, and weight. She's tiny, which I thought she was tiny, and then it was confirmed she is a tiny person,
Mm-hmm.
and she is nimble as hell.
Yeah, she's almost got that luchador style going for her.
I don't think that she has a ton of muscle, unless her entire body weight is muscle,
Mm-hmm.
because it numerically would not make sense otherwise. But whatever she lacks in that, she makes up for in just speed and total agility, the ability to like just slide under people. She did like a super cool like mid-air somersault to kick Dakota Kai in the face.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, got like little kangaroo leggies, dang. It was exciting to watch Casey, but then when Dakota Kai got the upper hand and inevitably pinned her and won, that's kind of when I was like, I don't really care.
And then Caden Carter came out, and Caden and Casey both got their asses kicked.
Of course, right on the heels of me saying, like, you know, one thing you never see outside of Raw, because Raw has like that extra hour, is like how Seth Rollins loves to stomp on Alistair's face after Alistair beats him or beats his friends.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you never get to see that in SmackDown or Raw, really. It's kind of rare that you see the aftermath. And then the moment I said that, Raquel and Dakota decided, you know what, let's beat up Casey a little bit more. And I was like, all right, I don't really want to watch that.
It's what you wanted, though. You were asking for that. You were like, give me some post-fight fight.
I really enjoyed watching Casey, and because Dakota and Raquel have like kind of disappointed me for the last few matches, I think I felt like, okay, well, you won. Let's move on to the next thing. Like the next 14 promos that I've got to watch before I watch another match. I didn't enjoy it after Casey kind of got her ass handed to her. But I kind of hope that we do see more of Casey after this. I hope that she isn't just lost in the mix with like any other person that they can kind of just pull out for like these like character arc kind of stories, I guess.
Right.
I do really want to see more of her though, and especially because because Caden came out, I'm wondering if maybe they're kind of hinting at like little tag team action with Casey and Caden, Dakota and Raquel, so it's kind of more evenly paired.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
pretty interesting to watch. Maybe some. Who was the girl that Dakota Kai left to be with Raquel?
Okay, so I might be totally wrong, and hopefully there's not enough people watching for them to call me out on being wrong. I think it's Tegan Knox.
Tegan Knox,
I think
yes.
she left Tegan Knox.
That's it, yeah.
I don't know if I made that up in my head, but I think it's Tegan Nox.
Yeah, because I remember that at NXT Takeover they were talking about it. Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
Tegan Nox.
Because they both have knee braces, and I'm like, please stop fighting.
And they might throw Tegan Nox into the mix.
Could be. I could be excited for that. And that's the other thing that I really like about like watching NXT every Wednesday and so on and so forth. It's like no matter what, sometimes I could be like, I don't know where they're taking the story, and then they're like, hey, remember these people? We're bringing them back to fight these guys, and I'm like, sure, let's do it. We're here. So we got our weirdest promo of the night right after this.
I wouldn't even say weird. It was, I guess, weirdly cinematic.
Cryptic? Cryptic could be a word we could use for it.
Very much of a tease.
Yeah, and like a tease that I don't really understand.
Me neither.
So Timothy Thatcher. I have two notes for this, and it's Timothy Thatcher is holding a training camp. That's it. That's the note. I have no clue what that's about. Because I guess like he's training people, which personally, if it's what I think it is, maybe that means we're going to see more technical wrestlers. And sure, so hyped up about that. You know, I want to see submission holds. I want to see, you know, people losing their teeth, like Timothy Thatcher pretended to lose his teeth. I want to see that.
I'm hoping. This is my dream here. I'm hoping Timothy Thatcher, next time he's in the ring, he's followed by just an army of like children MMA fighters.
What?
Like all these really like young trainees that he's been training, like children or teenagers.
Timothy Thatcher's child army.
Following him like the clones followed Anakin into the Jedi Temple to kill all the Jedi. That's what I want. That's my dream right now. I want to see like a bunch of children beat up, go to Raw and beat up Matt Riddle. And
Matt Riddle's on SmackDown!
And then Kurt Angle too, because he reffed that fight.
Okay, so it's either Timothy Thatcher's bringing technical fighting back into WWE, or Timothy Thatcher has a child army.
Yeah, I mean, which one's more realistic? Obviously, the child army.
You know, at this point with the WWE, who's to say? Who's really to say?
Everyone knows there's no technical fighters outside of Matt Riddle, Timothy Thatcher, Daniel Bryan, and Drew Gulak. There's none. None of them exist.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So one way or another, I think we're definitely going to see more UFC sort of MMA kind of fighting styles, which I'm excited for because I need another cage match to continue in this life. I need two men to be stuck in a cage with one another and beating each other until they're bloody. That's what I need in this life.
Eldon just said in chat, original bro versus Thatcher's on the roof. Thatcher's as in the Thatcher army, the children army. Yes, have the children throw Matt Riddle off of the roof.
No.
That's gonna happen.
Matt Riddle is my boy.
I pull off my mask, I am Vince McMahon.
No.
Or I'm Triple H, because Triple H has the say in NXT.
If that's the case, give me a job. Anyways. So, after Timothy Thatcher's child army is teased, which is not something I thought I'd be saying tonight, we had El Hijo del...
El Hijo del Fantasma.
Thank you, Google Translate. He came out, and he just won his Intercontinental Championship title. Cruiserweight, not Intercontinental. Sorry, the belts look exactly the same in my head. So he won his Cruiserweight
I just want to say,
title.
this part of the night is like the craziest, but also the most confusing part of the night.
I was toyed with emotionally. So I have a weak spot for any luchador that comes across the WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I love their style of fighting. I love watching lucha house parties throw themselves off of the ropes.
So fun.
It's like they weigh 0 pounds. It's amazing. So Fantasma comes out, or El Hijo del Fantasma. I took French. I don't know how to speak Spanish.
Just call him Hijo. That's what heard the announcers calling him.
Okay. So Hijo comes out. He's got his belt, and I assumed someone was going to challenge him because that's what tonight was all about.
Mm-hmm.
And as I think you predicted, Drake Maverick comes out.
Yeah.
And, good for Drake Maverick. I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad that he's, like, maybe trying this time as opposed to just rolling over on top of someone to win. And as expected, he's like, I want that title. Like, let's go. And then the two masked men come out. And the two, Hijo and Drake, are like, oh no, we gotta protect each other. We're scared.
When Liz says the two masked men came out, she means the two cousins from Breaking Bad.
And that's what it looked like too. But the masked men come out. Hijo and Drake are like back to back, like, oh, what are we gonna do? And then we find out that the two masked men have been with El Hijo the entire time.
It was it puts when Drake saved Hijo in a whole new context. Like, and then the two masked men took off their masks, and then Hijo took off his mask, and Hijo was revealed to be what is it?
Santos Escobar.
Yeah, Santos Escobar. I don't know who that is. You don't know who that is.
He's a heel, apparently.
Yeah, but it was honestly, I loved seeing this switch from face to heel just literally in an instant. Like, it was awesome.
So, first of all, actually, now that we're talking about this, I forgot that Drake helped El Hijo against the masked men.
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot about that. The fact that we've all just been vibing for a minute. And El Hijo del Fantasma has been El Hijo del Fantasma for a minute as well. And then all of a sudden reveals that he's with the bad guys this whole time. Steven Spielberg could not imagine creating a twist like that.
Wait.
M. Night couldn't imagine.
I have a theory.
Do you think that it's not actually El Hijo?
Yeah, I think Hijo was kidnapped or something.
That's what I was thinking, because I hate people being unmasked.
And plus, Hijo was like, he's a face. Like, he's this great luchador. He's the son of Fantasma. Like,
that's the thing that kind of makes me feel like, because that's where my head was going, and I didn't want to say it because at first I was like, that seems maybe like a little too like, just like looking for the best possible outcome. But when you consider the fact that he is quite literally the son of Fantasma, and it's not just him, but like the rest of his family, like his cousin is Fantasma Jr., his uncle wrestles. You're telling me all of a sudden El Hijo del Fantasma is no longer the son of Fantasma, but rather he is Santos Escobar, and that's who he's going to be from now on? I smell fish.
I'm doing a little research right now. Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar does not have a Wikipedia profile.
That's why I don't think he's real. Or
Pablo Escobar is the first thing that comes up when you search Santos Escobar wiki. But that actually makes me think that maybe this is just the way Hijo's going. Like, he's creating a new persona right now, Santos Escobar.
Well, I think if it were to go the way we were just positing, what would happen is El Hijo would come out with his mask on and be like, I was kidnapped, they did crazy things to me, blah, 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 or like they brainwashed me, or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
where it could still potentially be the same guy, but just with a mask on.
Yeah.
Because a mask really obscures a lot of like any identifiable characteristics about you.
Yeah. I
But
mean, that's one way to go about it. Or they just have
I
a new heel.
I guess I don't think they have enough heels right now, so maybe on NXT at least. So I guess
Definitely not enough luchador heels. I don't think there are any
at
luchador
all.
heels right now.
Mm,
Because we've got Rey Mysterio, who's definitely a face. We've got Lucha House Party, which is a face tag team. Seth Rollins is a heel.
he's not a luchador.
He came out in Rey Mysterio's mask last week,
Okay, that doesn't count. So
it does count. Because he was a luchador for like a minute.
I'm moving on. um, so the next promo, because they really built up this final match, and rightfully so. The next promo led to a discovery by me that made me incredibly happy. So we had Undisputed Era, like I think they were in like, I guess the locker room. I don't know. They were backstage.
It was like right outside of where you go out to the stage. I don't know if that
Like
is
you
a
think
name.
like a green room, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
And they found a doodle from Mr. Loomis.
Oh.
And the best part of that was that at one point during this time, I looked up Dexter and found out that he was actually a cartoonist. So I think these drawings are real.
That by real she means he really drew them.
Like, yeah, he's actually doing it. Which, if that's the case, my love for him has grown further.
Yeah.
And of course, then they discover the drawings, and the last person in the room,
Poor Roddy.
Roddy's just standing there, and Dexter's like,
Oh
my
god. I love Dexter Lumis so much. Especially
Dexter Lumis is like a comparison for my anxiety, I think.
especially with this fight, like he showed every reason why I love him.
So, after this promo, we got one of my favorite fights I think I've ever seen on NXT. One of my favorite fights I think I may have ever seen on any WWE brand at this point. We got Dexter Lumis versus Adam Cole, and I know Adam Cole's supposed to technically be a heel, and I know Dexter Lumis is is definitely a heel. Adam's kind of more of like that gray area. I didn't know what I wanted to have happen because Adam Cole got beat up, and I was like, no, Adam, and then Dexter got beat up, and I was like, that's my son. Be nice to him.
Dexter Cole, Dexter Cole, the child of Dexter Lumis and Adam Cole. A very, very deformed and disgusting child. But no, Dexter Lumis is an incredible fighter. Like, you rarely see a fighter throw closed fist punches. And although some will say it's banned in WWE or it's dangerous, it's a safety risk, but he wears gloves. Those gloves might be padded. He might do the hollow fist thing. That, for those who don't know, Liz, you can't see me right now because you can't see my webcam. But you take your fist and you put your thumb in your fist, and suddenly you have a hollow fist. It looks like a real fist, but it's really hollow on the inside. So when you punch somebody, there's some room of cushion there, and of course, he might also be pulling his punches, but he does such a good job with throwing those punches and making them seem real. He is and mix that in with all of his incredible wrestling moves, and my God.
So I've got a couple points I really want to make. First of all, the fact that like there's very few entrances that like anybody has. Like the Undisputed Era, love them to death. Their synchronized like setup kind of thing that they do is weird to
And
me.
their gang signs, what is it?
Yeah,
The
like
U
the
UE thing.
it's like this kind of, except my hand doesn't do it. Do
I
it.
I think
There we
I'm
go.
doing it. If you could see me right now, I think I'm doing it right.
It's basically like this. Um, they do the UE thing. It. I love them, but because Bobby Fish looks like he belongs in the Backstreet Boys, it's hard for me to not see them as a boy band when they do that stuff. But Dexter Lumis crawling across the ring without moving his legs, just using his arms.
He
Weird.
Yeah, he looks like a crawling zombie. Like his legs are dead and he's just dragging himself.
But and the thing was, when we first saw him, I was like, I don't feel safe. But now that I've seen him like 3 times, I'm like, I'm in love with him. He's so strange.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to that, in the beginning, I also noticed that, and you mentioned it was probably just the way he was like sitting earlier, is probably just the wrinkles, but because the way the wrinkles imprinted on Adam Cole's stomach, it looked like he drew his abs on. And I'm sure, I know he's strong. I know if Adam Cole really wanted to punch me, he could, and I would be in pain. But for a second, I was like, it looked like in It's Always Sunny when they do the Birds of War.
Oh, and they draw the abs on.
They draw the abs on. I was like, I don't think that's right. But just everything about Dexter's physicality, his acting is bar none. The way he sells his hits is stunning, and the fact that I don't remember what he did to get Cole in this position, but Cole was hanging over the ropes. Cole was on the other side of the ring, crawled across the ring, ducked under the ropes just to uppercut Cole on the other side. I was like, you don't need to do this much, and yet you do, and I respect it.
And then if we want to skip to the when the fight ends, and he just goes in and goes for another chokehold of Adam Cole.
Because we all knew it was going to happen. Cole was like taunting him, and Dexter was just like,
It's
"Can I
like
help you?"
it's like in a horror movie when the main character like and goes up to a door and you're constantly like, don't go in there, don't go in there, you know the monster's in there, don't go in there. Watching over Dexter Lumis, you're like, don't get close, he's gonna get up, don't get close.
I just also, they're like, there's something to be said about heels that like they're doing great and they're like really impressive, and then all of a sudden they start kind of like losing their high ground and like they look like they're getting weak, I guess. Loomis takes a punch and then goes, do it again. Just one
Yeah.
more time. Like he's enjoying it. I'm like, we're still kind of hot. Just gonna put that one out there. Second of all, you're insane. You're out of your head.
It gives him a great excuse to be like, yeah, this guy is really strong. This guy is like unbeatable, but he can lose because he wants to lose. He wants to get hit. You know?
He loves getting hit.
Yeah.
He eats it up. It was so weird because, like, when he first choked out Roddy and he's just sitting there petting him, I was like, oh my God, this man's a creep. But he's grown on me in the worst way, and I am so in love with him that when that fight ended, and I knew, like, I knew something else had to have happened because there was still 3 minutes left, and, any WWE property isn't going to actually end on time. It usually ends like a couple minutes after like 10 or 11 or whatever. So when it ended at like 9:56, I was like, something's got to happen. Something's going to happen. I can't imagine that's just going to stop here. And then I felt so deflated when it ended. And then Loomis got back up to like destroy Cole and get him into that chokehold, and I was like, awesome. And then Velveteen Dream had to come out.
Literally the weirdest pairing I've ever seen. Why are Loomis and Velveteen like basically a team? I mean, they might not be a team. Loomis might be like, who the fuck? Who's this guy? Velveteen Dream might be like, oh, this guy saved me at Takeover, even though he really didn't. So I'm gonna help him out. It's just
I don't think Loomis recognizes faces.
except
He just recognizes anger.
and Roddy's face. It's the only face.
And Roddy. Roddy's the only one he knows.
But like, I would rather see Loomis with any other wrestler as a team than Velveteen Dream. My dream pairing is Loomis going to SmackDown and being a part of the Wyatt family, or teaming with Karrion Kross. That'd be sick. But Velveteen, why Velveteen? The alleged pedophile.
I think my thing is that like Loomis definitely does not strike me as like a team player.
Yeah,
by any means
no, definitely
whatsoever. So first to have him paired with someone who doesn't even match his fighting style, because Velveteen Dream, Dexter Lumis is like this like very magical pairing, and I don't think there's any other wrestler like him. But he's a very magical pairing of like WWE wrestling, but there's a lot of technical stuff that he does, and a lot of physical prowess that I think is required to land things that look very real, but aren't. Because if he landed half the punches he got on Adam Cole would not have been moving, I don't think.
Yeah.
But to have him matched with Velveteen Dream, who really just has like the showmanship of WWE as opposed to any sort of technical style, it does not make sense to me. And I feel like Velveteen's just holding on to him because he's kind of like a bodyguard. And I don't think Loomis gives half of a hoot about Dream. But if he were to pair up with anyone, I mean, can't see it being Karrion Kross, even though that'd be terrifying, because Karrion has his wife. But even to join up with, like, as I said, I think he would make a good either adversary or teammate to Seth Rollins. I think he would make an awesome opponent against Bobby Lashley. One thing I know for sure, I might not know who he should be with, or if he should be with anyone. I know for a fact he should not still be in NXT. I think that he 100% should end up at least in Raw. I think I personally like to see him in Raw the most, because then I think that gives him a little more time for his fights and stuff.
Yeah, and I want to talk about this more once we get into the fighter of the night, but he has the perfect blend of character and fighting. That
and I was just gonna say that you helped point out to me, because I try to look for, like, it's probably wrong to do, but I try to look for a negative when it comes to the only person I have not been capable of doing that with is Drew McIntyre. But that being said, watching this fight tonight, I was like, everything he's doing I'm loving, and I feel like there's got to be something that I hate about him. And I realized that when he gets like hit, and like when he starts kind of getting like a little weak or something, his falls were very like Austin Theory when he was with Zelina Vega, where he was just like a very Three Stooges kind of fall.
It's very much like
3 nights in a row.
It's like arms at your sides, tipping over like a tree,
like a weeble wobble.
Yeah.
But not only did you tell me, like, well, I think that's kind of like that makes sense because like he's not like a real person. But then I thought harder and that he's a cartoonist.
Yeah.
In comics, like, the bad guy's so bad until all of a sudden he like gets like kicked in the side of the cheek and he's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, what I said was like Austin Theory is like a person. He's like a real person. He should fall and hit like a real person. Dexter Lumis is very much a character. His fighting, his reactions are embodied in the character, or embodying the character that he's playing, which is entirely fictional. So when he falls, it's very much his large persona hitting the ground. Yeah.
And speaking of falling, and maybe praying, so
Oh God.
after Adam Cole taunted Loomis and got choked out by him which by the way, Loomis held on for a long time, even though Bobby and Roddy were kicking him.
Bobby and Roddy.
Bobby and Roddy. Even though like they were kicking him in the head, basically, he held on to Adam Cole's neck for a good minute there. And then Dream comes out, and it's a whole thing. Loomis chases poor Roderick away. We don't know if he's alive anymore. He might not be if Dexter found him. But eventually it's just Adam Cole left in the ring, feeling all good about himself, when the lights go out. And to my shock and awe, and pleasure for that matter, Scarlett comes out with her little sand time thing.
Hourglass.
Yeah, hourglass. That's the one. I love when I remember words. With her little hourglass. And now we know that Karrion Kross is challenging Adam Cole for his NXT Men's Championship belt. And Adam Cole, unfortunately,
he's gonna die.
He's a dead man walking at this rate, I think.
I mean, he is both Karrion Kross and Keith Lee coming for his title. Like, the two largest men in NXT are after him. There's no way he can stop anything.
And when you consider the fact that Karrion Kross ate Tommaso Ciampa for lunch, Adam Cole, like, he's definitely talented, obviously. You don't hold on to a title for 370 some odd days for no reason. But he's not... I haven't seen anything about him that said, oh, he definitely is stronger than Tommaso.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure how that's going to go, but I definitely think Karrion Kross is probably going to kill him. And that scares me because I can't imagine Karrion Kross with the NXT Men's Championship title.
Unless Keith Lee decides that he's going to help Adam Cole. He helps Adam Cole keep away Karrion Kross because the two of them against Karrion would be more likely to beat Karrion than Keith against Karrion. So that would mean that Keith could afterwards fight Adam for the title rather than fighting Karrion for the title. So it would benefit him to defend Adam from Karrion.
You make points. There were points made right there. I could definitely see that happening. But that was our final challenge of the night and our final match of the night, and it did not disappoint in the least. Every second I was just like...
It was a good night for NXT. Not gonna lie.
I mean, I don't think I've yelled that hard at a TV since the Yankees almost won their last game against the Astros last year. So that says a lot. But I do want to move into, because we've been at this for about an hour and a half now. I do want to move into who you think is your
promo.
Do you want to do promo? Yeah.
Let's do promo.
Yeah. Okay.
So the promos are kind of underwhelming today. I mean, you had the Cameron Grimes one, which was all right, a little out there, but you had... I don't... Would you consider the Drake Maverick ring entrance a promo? I don't think I would.
I consider almost anything that isn't an actual match a promo, but that I'll leave that one up to you.
I think my picks probably gotta be because the Rhea Ripley promo was good. I like that a lot. But nothing really compared, I guess, to the Undisputed Era being stalked by Dexter Lumis. Especially when they're in the ring and and Roddy sees Dexter Lumis in the crowd, everyone turns, he's gone. Where could he have gone in that
He's
short
not
time?
small, and yet he moves so
He
fast.
probably just dug down under the windows and was just like crouched there the whole time until just peeking over to see if Roddy's the only one looking.
Um, I have to agree. I don't know if it's my bias towards Undisputed Era or my bias towards Dexter Lumis, but that was definitely my favorite. Especially because it was like it wasn't just like one; it was a string. And Dexter Loomis's dumb eyes just staring at Roddy through the window of the
Oh
door.
my god.
Poor Roderick Strong. The
Yeah.
poor dude. He's been kidnapped. He was held in a trunk, which, as he said, everyone knows he hates being put in trunks.
As if
My,
he's been put in trunks before.
my sweet dumb lad, watching him try to deal with Dexter Loomis just coming after him and Dexter Loomis being like, there's literally nowhere you can hide from me,
Mm-hmm.
was so awesome. And I genuinely I loved every second of those promos. I just wanted to see where Dexter was going to appear next.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we got to see some of Dexter's cartoons. So
Yeah. I feel like anything involving Dexter Loomis's cartoons is a highlight for me.
um
But now let's move into the fighter of the night.
yes.
Because we agreed, right, on the promo?
Yeah, we
Okay.
do.
Gotcha.
Go ahead with your fighter of the night.
Um, well, this one was kind of tough. I was really surprised by Casey Catanzaro. She was amazing. Had some excellent moves. And then, of course, Finn Balor is amazing as always. But I, I can't say no to this. Dexter Lumis is the best fighter NXT has. He is the best wrestler they have, the best personality they have. He needs to move up. He needs to move up to SmackDown or Raw as soon as possible. I want to see him with the greats.
Um, I have to agree with you. My heart is set on Finn because watching Finn regain his confidence means a hell of a lot to me. But I mean, there were moments with Finn where, like, at one point, I think he jumped from the buckle onto Cameron Grimes' stomach,
Mm-hmm.
which we both were like, I have no clue how that didn't get someone injured. But there were so many punches from Dexter where it was like, I'm sorry, how did you not actually connect that? Like, how did that, like, not actually knock Adam Cole's teeth out in some form?
Yeah, either Cole said to him in the locker room, just punch me. Just go ahead and punch me. It's fine. Or, like I said with Loomis, he has like the cushioned gloves, does the hollow fist technique. Or he might have been a stuntman before being a wrestler. And at the end of the day, being a wrestler is just being a stuntman with a microphone.
Um, I definitely have to agree with Dexter Lumis. I think it's nothing like you haven't said yet. Like he he's the full package,
Mm-hmm.
and outside of there's been some fights on Raw recently where I have like genuinely like gotten like into it yelling, like Aleister Black versus Seth and stuff like that. But for NXT, there hasn't been a lot of stuff like outside of maybe Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher in the cage fight where I was like, oh my God. And this fight, I just the way that he fights, his facial expressions that he like maintains, it's sort of like in ballet, you have to like keep smiling or at least keep showing like the facial emotion that's appropriate for your character in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Dexter Lumis commits
Yeah.
to being just like stoic. And I don't know, maybe it's because I laugh a lot, like just out of nerves. I don't know how someone can keep a straight face like that for that long. He's so impressive. He is so exciting to watch. The match ended, and I understood that it had to because like NXT can't go on all night as long as I want it to.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could have paid for an extra hour of that match alone, I would have.
As I've said before, Loomis is the perfect mix of wrestler and performer. His wrestling perfectly embodies who he is as a character, and even as far as the differentiation between getting hit or where he gets angry. He doesn't get angry when he gets hit. He gets angry when his opponent kicks out. I saw him get very mad when Cole kicked out. And I feel like that shows that he doesn't mind getting hit. He just wants to be the strongest. He wants to win. He wants to be the most powerful one here. And that's when he just completely chokes out Adam Cole. And I really want to see this rivalry continue without Velveteen Dream.
Yeah, I definitely do not want to see. And even despite the fact that I think Velveteen Dream's probably almost definitely a scumbag.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. That's why I said probably.
Probably allegedly a scumbag.
I don't want to see Dexter really hooked onto another person. I don't want to see him reliant on anyone else because I don't think he needs to be. I want to see Dexter Lumis I want to see him Brock Lesnar in Royal Rumble this past January.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see him just defeat one guy after the other guy after the other guy after the other guy. That's all I want.
Yeah, he needs to be a tank. He needs to just truck through everybody and for everyone to be like, he needs everyone to be scared of him. Like how everyone's scared of Karrion Kross. He needs everyone to be scared of him like Roddy's scared of him. I want to see Drew McIntyre scared of him.
Yeah, that'll never happen. But you know, there's certain people, there's certain fighters across the brands that get me excited to watch the show. Obviously with SmackDown, it's Drew, it's Alistair. When I know that they're gonna fight, I mean, I am there. I am parked on the couch. There's nothing that can distract me. That's all I care about. You know, with SmackDown, when Miz and Morrison get to fight, when
Bray
Braun's
Wyatt.
fighting, if Bray Wyatt has a fight, like I'm there for that. And I've been waiting to be there for someone in NXT because Finn wasn't really fighting. Adam Cole wasn't even really fighting for the most part before NXT. Dexter Lumis is definitely someone that I could be like, oh, Dexter's fighting someone tonight. I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to sit through 2 hours of this just with the hopes that I'm going to see something about him at some point.
And Triple H knows that he's like amazing because he's been a main event fighter this whole time. He was a huge part of the Backlot Brawl, and today's main event fight. It clearly shows that Triple H knows how big he is. He knows how much of an amazing performer he is, and I want to see him in every main event fight from now on.
And I want to see him move up. I don't want to see him keep... Because, I mean, there's only so many, you know, top-of-the-bill fighters that Dexter Lumis can go through.
Yeah.
I want to see him get a chance like Matt Riddle did. I think, honestly, I think he could fight Matt Riddle at this point. I think
That'd be
there's so many people that his character will cross over to and be able to affect that's what we need. And I think I'm sure they might just be waiting because like they did just move Matt up. And funds are probably tight right now. But you get there's a lot of marketing stuff that goes into it, but I think that they definitely, I'm hoping that somewhere in a back room they are considering like, okay, maybe we should be moving him here. We can trade him for this guy. We can bring this guy in, make him big, and so on.
I mean, really seems like the only one in NXT that's kind of has the ability to move up. I mean, you have Undisputed Era, who are faces of NXT, Finn Balor, who is a face of NXT. Everyone else is kind of either not there yet or just a solid part of NXT. And if they lost them, they would lose a huge part of what makes NXT great. Dexter Lumis, I don't think he's too ingrained in NXT culture to have to be kept there.
He's translatable, and I think there's sort of to add to your point, I think there's very few people that are like, there's a lot of people that are just kind of becoming known. And like Rhea Ripley, she got her chance at WrestleMania. She's becoming more of like a prominent face. Maybe sooner or later they will replace her face over Shayna Baszler's, because Shayna's still on the NXT picture for some reason.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that like because there's so few people that are like either in between like face and just like kind of coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that they're like, okay, he's right in the middle. If we lose him, we're not going to lose all of our viewership in the way that they would if like Finn left. But if we move him over to this product, then maybe that'll help them, and I don't think that he's too big, and I don't think he's too small.
Right.
To kind of Matt Riddle himself over. And I think, honestly, what SmackDown needs right now is people like him.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're sort of like recycling things over and over.
I just want to say one more thing before we move on to Fight of the Night, because we have been going on for a while about how great Dexter Lumis is.
This is the Dexter Lumis podcast now.
I know this vision in my mind won't actually happen, because I know it doesn't work that way. But I don't want Dexter Lumis, if he does move up to Raw or SmackDown, I don't want him to be announced to be a part of it. I want him to just have the lights go out, or like a chair falls and suddenly it's scooped under the apron. I want him to just appear. I don't want an announcement. I want him to appear either in a shadow or under the ring. I want him to just scare everyone, because I feel like that'd be perfect for his character, rather than just a headline that says a Dexter Lumis promoted to Raw or SmackDown or something.
And I mean, who better to scare the pants off of than Seth Rollins? That's all I can think of.
Or AJ Styles. Because he's traumatized.
I hate AJ Styles. And you know what? Fine. Let's do it.
Well, clearly, Lumis loves traumatized people, since he loves Roddy so much. He can go after AJ Styles. Anyway, fight of the night.
Let's move on to our fight, yeah. Go forth.
Oh, God. Okay. So every fight was kind of like, it was good in their own right. The first fight was decent. Didn't love it. The tag team, I love the ending, because it opens up for more story development. But it was all right up until then. The Indus Share fight was too short to even remember. The Finn Balor Cameron Grimes fight was excellent. That fight was so good. But it doesn't really open up from a story perspective. It doesn't open up for there to be anywhere to go for either wrestlers. So that's why I'm a little hesitant to call that fight of the night. Casey versus Dakota. Casey was great. That's really all I could take from it. And then the Dexter Lumis versus Adam Cole fight. I mean, come on. The only downside to that fight was Velveteen Dream showing up for a hot minute.
I've already put it on my head, so.
Yeah, like all I remember is him coming in, him punching, I think it was Bobby Fish.
Yeah.
And then leaving. But my God, that fight was amazing. It was just like Dexter Lumis, perfect parts wrestling, perfect parts story. You know, a good fight will excel on both ends. It's not just wrestling. It helps advance the characters, or it helps advance a relationship story. And that did just that.
Yeah, I think I have to give a tie tonight. I'm sorry, there's a massive bug flying around my room, and I'm trying to not be distracted by it.
Oh, huh.
It might be a bee. I'm really trying to not be distracted by it. Okay. It's not easy. Oh, it's a really big bug too.
Can you see if
it's a bee?
It is a bee.
It's definitely a bee. Yeah.
Do you want to come?
Oh God, it's so close to me. Oh God. Okay, hang on.
Just come in here and finish the podcast in here.
Okay. So my room is under attack now.
Yeah, come in here and finish the podcast in here. Close the door.
It's a very big bug.
All right, so we'll finish the podcast in here very quickly, and then we'll take care of the bee.
It only just got in too. Okay, so there we go. So I think that I have to give a tie tonight for my.
Thank you, Elle, for being on standby.
I do think that I have to give a tie tonight. I think the Finn Balor Cameron Grimes fight was.
Come speak a little closer to the mic.
Was I think that was a really big fight in the sense that it had a huge story behind it and a big redemption arc, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I felt like at the same time the Dexter Lumis and Adam Cole fight was just chef's kiss perfection. So I think I it's really hard for me to decide, and I really can't. So I have to go with both of them.
Well,
me personally.
Since it's 2 votes to Dexter Lumis versus Adam Cole and 1 vote to Finn Balor, I think we know which one's the fight of the night. We won't say it explicitly, but you guys know.
It's not like we voted for Dexter Lumis for every other thing that we did tonight.
It's not like he's the best wrestler NXT has.
It's not like we're both madly in love with him.
Anyway, so that we've got the Dexter Lumis promo, Dexter Lumis fighter, and then Dexter Lumis fight.
We didn't say we're going to say what it was.
Dexter Lumis fight, question mark, as our fight of the night. So that wraps up the podcast, right?
Yes, it does. I'm trying to put the bee out of my head right now, while I try to wrap this up like a professional. But so please keep in mind that on Friday we will be doing SmackDown at probably around 10:15ish, probably around the same time as we do tonight, and then get excited. Because we have Backlash, and we have decided, as we mentioned in our last podcast, I think we mentioned it.
Yeah, the predictions.
we're going to do predictions, and we're going to make it into a fun drinking game, but we'll mix the shots with a mixer so that we don't get in trouble for getting trashed on Twitch.
We'll do nice shots of water.
Nice shots of water, and we'll make gross faces afterwards.
Yeah, painful shots of spicy water.
Just pretend that it's Hendrick's Gin, which is a Scottish gin, and we're only drinking it because Drew McIntyre is Scottish and I don't drink Scotch or brown liquor.
It's a very dirty water that's for some reason brown.
We might live in, one of the biggest metropolitan areas in the world, but we don't live close enough to a liquor store that provides purely Scottish liquors that I would actually drink outside of Hendrick's Gin. So we will be doing that. Keep that in mind, because it'll probably be a mess. And do you want to mention the wheel idea?
Well, I was hoping to save it for for the next podcast, but since that cat's kind of out of the bag right now,
I let that cat right out.
We're gonna try and introduce a user wheel or viewer wheel in the next podcast episode, where I think it works with a chat command where you can spin the wheel, or it's a donation. I don't know how it works yet, but we'll have a wheel. We'll have stuff like take a shot or stuff like that to kind of spice up the podcast for you guys. So it's a little more fun, a little more interactive. Yeah. Speaking of interactive, interact by following the stream and following us on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are right down here. This is mine, and that one is Liz's, Mark Milkdud, and Eliza Elaine 23, both on Twitter. And follow the stream. If you missed any of it, go check out our YouTube, where we put all of our past podcast episodes. You can see all of our past ones, including the NXT Takeover in Your House podcast episode.
And please enjoy our new co-host, the bee that now lives in my room because I'm scared of him.
Yeah, you've got a nice shot of the bee right now. Even though you don't, the bee's probably behind the camera.
I promise you he's in there.
Did you leave the door open?
I did.
Okay,
yeah,
so it's not now in there anymore. The host has left the building. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to follow if you enjoyed.
Bye.
Have a great night.